OTSUKA on the first take, and you know what, I just want to jump straight into doing this reaction, but first of all, I have to have a bit of a preamble, a bit of a talk. This is something I didn't know this video was coming out until just a few seconds ago. I just saw it and I immediately set up the cameras. I thought, I've got to catch a reaction of this because I am such a huge OTSUKA fan now for, well, over 2 decades. I first got into her music back in 2000, I think it was 2004 actually when I first got into her music. I think she was just about to release her second album, Love Jam, at the time. And I had just found out about this. I'd already been listening to a little bit of Japanese music, but she was the artist who really had taken this interest I had with Japanese music and elevated it into just a love of it. She was one of the first artists ever who I just bought every single thing that came out because it was just amazing how fulfilling and different and interesting each song was, how she had this amazing variation between all of her albums. And yeah, it's really interesting because I think if you speak to a lot of people who got into Japanese music around about that period of time, you know, around about the turn of the millennium, I mean, she came a couple of years into this millennium. If you speak to most of those people, OTSUKA is just one of those names that they know. And yeah, she is more than just a hit single maker from the early 2000s. She is a multi-talented, you know, plays piano, guitar. She's learnt violin, which I've seen her live at her birthday gig, and you know, she's played violin, she played guitar, she plays all these instruments, she writes her own songs. In my opinion, her best album, also she produced on it as well. She's done arrangements. She does all different genres. She is just one of the most incredibly talented people, and it sounds like I'm just standing here, but it's one of those things where it hasn't worn off over time. Now, I will get into this reaction, but I've still got things to say. If you're a OTSUKA fan, just enjoy me with this little bit of reminiscing before we jump into this, okay? Because on top of all of this, I mean, if you speak to most people, she initially got famous. Really, the song that everyone would have known, if you just say OTSUKA, even in Japan, people immediately, Moikai, they think of Sakuranbo, which was a very poppy song, very well written, you know, brilliant chord pattern, brilliant melody, really interesting. It was actually, the original demo of Sakuranbo was one of the things that originally got her signed to Avex, because if you've ever heard the original demo, it's a little bit different from the version that we're used to, but it is interesting how, like, the structure, all the things that make it brilliant are still there. And, you know, that was the song that everyone kind of knew moving forwards. But as someone once told me, because again, if you don't know me, I work a lot with music. I've worked with music my entire adult life, and you know, one of the things that I once heard very, very young, which I think remains very true, is that if you want to get a big single and rule the charts, then you do a pop single that's in the sound of the time. But if you want to have a song that lasts through the ages, it's usually going to be a ballad, because there's something more timeless about ballads. They tend to not sound so much of an era. They tend to have a sound that's more universal, more emotionally resonant over a long period of time. And it's interesting because obviously Sakuranbo made her so famous, but see, I'm slowly transitioning to the point here. This song, Planetarium, is probably the song that now, 20 years later, I think it's got many more views on YouTube, the music video for it. It's obviously when it came out, YouTube didn't even exist. YouTube started in 2005, so yeah, around about that time. But you know, it's the song now that you go to karaoke, people are more likely to be singing Planetarium. It's 20 years later, it's 2 decades later, and it's stuck with people. And you know, OTSUKA is a musician who I've stuck with. You know, us who have been fans of her for all this time, we've obviously followed her through the heyday, the massive fame, when she was signed up as one of their potential replacements for Yumi Hamasaki, who'd been ruling the charts for Avex up to that point. She was signed up alongside Kumi Koda. They both had their flashes of fame, but didn't really last at that peak. But, you know, OTSUKA went through so many really amazing albums, amazing singles. Her life changed. She had some difficult points around the middle I'm not going to dive into. I did a whole video talking about how her career had changed, but then she bounced back, you know, relying less on the fame and more on just her unique, you know, just musical, technical talent, her ability to do all these amazing things, you know, so creative. And that led to, you know, we had some albums that weren't so great. I always say if you're a proper fan of someone, you've got to be honest about it. There were things like Love Tricky that had a couple of good songs on there, but it was a bit of an awkward experiment that just kind of didn't quite work. But then after that, she just had like just success after success from a creative perspective, because there slowly was this feeling of her regaining some freedom. So anyway, here we are with her performing Planetarium on the first take, and the reason why I'm extra excited for this is because on the first take, musicians tend to do slightly different versions of their songs. Now, I can see the piano in the first frame. I'm itching to press play, but I just got to finish this freaking monologue first of all. She's done some fantastic piano-only versions of her songs before. I don't know if that's what we're going to get or whether there's going to be extras. Obviously, there is piano in the original version, but I'm interested to see if this is going to be a full arrangement or just piano. One of my favorite piano versions she ever did. She's famous for this. She did a really famous piano version of Mamona Hanabiro, which was one of her very first singles. But the funny thing is that there's a couple of different piano versions. One's really good. Look, I'm getting way too much into the geek level, talking about the various different piano versions of an early single that she did. Focus, Howard. So yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to get here, but I'm really excited about it. And it's just suddenly occurred to me that on the first take, artists usually don't just come in to do one song, do they? They usually come in to do two. I remember how Babe Metal came in and they did both Monochrome and The One. And we had Anno and Lelis came in and did both of their collaborations. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something upbeat in another OTSUKA one. Make it happen the first take. You will have already recorded it if it is going to happen. But I hope you did. I'm going to press play. I'm really excited about this. Look, I'm sorry. 7 minutes. I will spend 7 minutes with your OTSUKA. If anything, I'm sad it's not longer. Let's freaking go. Even the headphones creak when OTSUKA puts them on. Oil your headphones first take, for God's sake. Well, it works. We're going to watch her tune the piano now. That would be in line with the first take. Oh. Let's turn it up a bit. This is not an easy melody to sing. This is a good song for first take. I can't do this for 7 minutes, sorry. There's that little step-up chord in the chorus. I'll try and point it out, but there's this one little chord movement that I really like in there. I'll try and remember to point it out, but moving down to the lower chords to really build up the thickness of the sound. I always feel as well, her voice is a great indication of how expression is so much more important than just having the biggest voice. There's different styles of singing, but rather than just having the biggest voice, I always feel like she's got such an expressive voice. And it's so well backed up by her ability to write music that really expresses so much that fills in the space under her voice. Power of being a great songwriter. Hammering the chords there, really adding the power. It's this little chord step here. Oh, she didn't do it. The one time I pointed a chord movement, she did. How is that nearly 7 minutes long? I feel like it's only been 2 or 3 minutes. I always find that little moment after, even for someone who really feels the music very passionately, like, you know, like a pianist, like OTSUKA, but like many pianists, I always find that moment afterwards where they leave it to hang. It's like, it's both a nice way to finish, but it is also a little bit awkward. Because the funny thing, if you're in the studio recording with someone, it never ends quite like that. Usually, like, we'll be like in the outside of the, you know, behind the desk or whatever, and there'll just be a little bit of talking, like, oh, that was a good take and everything. It's like that. But it's like when she's like quiet and we're sitting there quietly looking at her, it's like, anyway, look, let's get a nice frame, as we usually try to remember to do, of her singing. That's just looking away now. There you go. There's a nice frame. Actually, she looks like she's presenting a radio show there. Look, the point is, so this one is one, so there's so little to point out that you can't really make out for yourselves. It's really just a beautiful performance. Everyone's going to have different opinions, but I think it's really beautiful. Again, she's she's one of these people who I think another facet. I mean, I've spoken about how she can write so many different genres. She's got everything from punk songs to like jazz numbers. I do really like. She did a jazz number on Love Letter, and if you read her interview about it, she actually. I think it was in an interview. She said that she actually went and showed it to some actual professional jazz musicians out of slight embarrassment to ask them if it's okay, and they went, "It's good jazz for someone who usually writes pop." So yeah, but she dabbles with these genres. She's respectful of so many genres. But I think another thing that I maybe don't highlight as much, which is probably really worth saying, is that for someone who, I think one of her powers is that she writes these songs that so beautifully translate into big arrangements. The fact that she does that, but then you listen to when she just plays with piano, she's very, very good at still, even when she's playing just on a piano, and it sounds like such an obvious thing to say, but she knows how to still treat it as an arrangement. She still develops the songs. A lot of the time when we hear people just play with an instrument, we're used to hearing people play with a guitar, and a lot of the time you play with a guitar, there's 6 strings. There is a limited number of options in how you form chords. There is a lot you can do with a guitar, but obviously with a piano, there is much more you can do. You can be playing notes very far apart. There is more, and you can be playing up to 10 notes at a time if you really want. There is more ability to spread more of an arrangement on a piano, which is one of the reasons why it also is probably the better instrument to write on if you can. And so it's really interesting when you hear her do this, how every single chorus was different, which you just think for her it's default, but we're not used to hearing that with every single artist. But with her, you just know every chorus is different. She plays it slightly differently. Like I say, that last chorus, more hammering down on the chord, so punching each chord in, where the previous ones have been a little bit more delicate. And the way as well that she's moving her left hand further down. I always say this is like as the tone of the song raises and becomes more victorious, and the notes are going to, you imagine it getting higher and more shouted out in the high ranges. You have to move down at the same time, so the overall dynamic of the song spreads out. It's not just getting higher and higher, which could potentially sound thinner, but it's also getting lower. It's at the bottom end, it's spreading out, and this is something that again we I don't want to say names, but there are a lot of artists out there who don't think about this when they write. Well, actually, it's not even it's more less of a Japanese thing. It's something that I think tends to be more and more of a problem in the West, which is surprising because. Anyway, the point is that she, just on this one instrument, as well as performing with so much love and soul and so much like just personality and passion in the performance, is the fact as well that if you pull it apart technically, there's some really beautiful things going on in just the way she treats the instrument as a tapestry for making a full arrangement. I love it. It's a very good indication of what I love so much about her as a songwriter. It is obviously still to its simplest form. If I was going to say to someone, look, I want to introduce you to OTSUKA's music, I probably wouldn't start here. I'd probably start with something that showcases all of her, I think there's so many different things she does, it would almost be impossible to in one song. But I think this is a great example of how, if you're just a fan of simple solo musicians, this would be a great one to come in on. And if you're already an OTSUKA fan, then this is a great way of hearing her once again interpreting her songs. Again, she has done piano-only arrangements of other songs of hers before. In fact, she's done entire albums of them. But it just shows how her songs are not just things that she recites, they're songs that she truly understands. And I do like as well that when she does alternative versions of her songs, they're genuinely really different from the original. She really pulls them apart. She did that the IO album, which was basically, she did like chill out jazz versions of all of her songs. That was an amazing album as well. She's done albums which is piano versions of her own songs, also whilst releasing new albums, and then you'll have like a synth album and this and that. Anyway, this woman is absolutely amazing. There's nothing more I can say about this than other than just to convince you to go check out some OTSUKA. She is an absolute legend. Love the woman, love the music, and I mean, I've been following her music now for 20 years, and I'm not quite 40 yet, so that means that it's been more than half my life I've been following her music. And on top of that as well is just the fact that she's 3 years older than me, but we share the exact same birthday, which is funny because our birthday, September the 9th, is also the most common day to have a birthday on. We checked that. Of all 365 and a quarter days, September the 9th is the most common birthday, so it's not that much of a surprise. But still, share the same birthday, so I've been to her birthday concerts and everything before, but she's exactly 3 years older than me, which means that we're both of a similar age, and I feel like we've grown old together with her not knowing who I am and me following her career. That's what fandom is, people. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this reaction. This is the longest video I've ever posted on this, well, since I brought this channel back, but love it. Get in the comments, tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.